Have you ever wondered why some people seem to live with unshakable serenity in the face of death, while others spend their entire lives fleeing this inevitable encounter? The secret I'm about to share with you might seem too simple to be true, but it's precisely this simplicity that makes it so powerful and yet so neglected. Your consciousness may never end. I'm not talking about religious beliefs or empty metaphysical promises. I'm talking about something that quantum science itself is beginning to reveal, something that the oldest spiritual traditions already knew, but which our modern mind insists on ignoring. If you are here now, reading these words, it's because something within you already knows there's more to existence than meets the eye. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll show you how awakening this understanding can transform not only your relationship with death, but with every moment of your life. Before we continue, do yourself a favor, take a deep breath, and allow these words to find space in your consciousness. If they resonate with you, leave a sign in the comments, just one word that captures what you're feeling right now. When Nobel Prize winner Roger Penrose, along with Stuart Hameroff, proposed the orchestrated objective reduction theory, they weren't just theorizing about consciousness. They were pointing to something revolutionary. The quantum information that constitutes your consciousness is not lost when your brain stops functioning. It is released back into the universe, like a drop of water returning to the ocean. Think about that for a moment. Your consciousness as a crystalline drop that, upon merging with the cosmic ocean, doesn't lose its essence, it merely transforms its manifestation. And experiments by Aspect, Dalibard, and Roger definitively proved that particles can remain connected instantly, no matter the distance between them. If subatomic particles can do this, what about the consciousness that emerges from that same quantum substrate? The illusion of definitive mortality. You wake up every morning with the same sense of continuity, as if you are the same person who went to sleep the night before. But have you ever stopped to question where this certainty comes from? Your body constantly renews billions of cells. Your thoughts change every instant. Your emotions fluctuate like waves in the sea. And yet, something within you remains, observing all these changes. This silent observer is what you truly are, and it is not bound by the limitations of linear time that your rational mind insists on imposing. How many times have you had the sensation of déjà vu, that strange moment when it feels like you've already lived exactly that situation? What if that wasn't a brain glitch, but a glimpse of your consciousness navigating through multiple temporal dimensions? Think of the last time you lost someone dear. The pain you felt was real, but was it the pain of physical separation or the frustration of no longer being able to access that consciousness through habitual channels? Breathe deeply now. Feel the air entering your lungs like particles of quantum light, nourishing every cell with cosmic information. As you exhale, release the tension of believing that you are merely this temporary body. Like the drop of water that evaporates from the ocean to form clouds, your consciousness is constantly transitioning between states, but never ceasing to exist. The fear of death is, in fact, the fear of losing an identity you've built, but which was never who you truly are. When you understand this deeply, not just intellectually, something changes in your vibrational frequency. You stop living as if you're racing against time and begin to live as the eternity you always were. If these words are touching something deep within you, pause for a moment and place your hand over your heart. Feel the pulse, but not just as an organ pumping blood. Feel it as a quantum portal that connects you to all existence. The paradox of cosmic separation. You live in a world that insists on dividing everything into separate categories. Me and you, life and death, matter and energy, body and soul. But what if all this separation were just a convenient illusion created by the mind to navigate three-dimensional experience? Have you noticed how, in moments of greatest connection, whether with nature, with another person, or in deep meditation, these boundaries seem to dissolve? In these instants, you touch your true nature, the one that transcends the artificial limits of the individual ego. Remember that time you were completely absorbed in something you loved doing, and time simply disappeared? Hours passed like minutes, and you didn't even notice. Where was your consciousness of linear time in that moment? It had expanded beyond habitual limitations, touching the timeless field from which you truly come. The principle of conservation of information, studied by Jacob Bekenstein, shows us that nothing in the universe is truly destroyed, only transformed. If this holds true for information in black holes, why would it be different for the information that constitutes your consciousness? Like that drop of water that can evaporate, form clouds, precipitate as rain, be absorbed by a plant, and flow as vital sap, your consciousness is in constant transformation, but never annihilation. The samsara of Hinduism and Buddhism is not just an ancient religious belief. It is a poetic description of something that quantum physics is beginning to map scientifically. Consciousness as a pattern of energy and information that transcends specific forms. Close your eyes for an instant and imagine yourself not as a solid body, but as a vibrant energy field, with trillions of particles dancing in complex patterns. Each of these particles is connected to the universal quantum field. You are not in the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself through a temporary focal point called your name. When you truly grasp this, anxiety about the future and regret about the past begin to lose their power over you. How can there be fear when you are eternal? If this resonates with your experience, share in the comments a moment when you felt this connection to something greater. The vibrational frequency of eternity. There is a specific frequency at which your consciousness vibrates when it is aligned with its eternal nature. You recognize it immediately when you experience it. It's that feeling of deep peace that arises even amidst chaos. That inexplicable certainty that everything is exactly as it should be. But modern life, with its constant noise and incessant demands, keeps you vibrating at lower frequencies, trapped in fear, scarcity, separation. How many times have you woken up in the middle of the night with profound insights about your life, solutions to problems that seemed impossible during the day? In these moments, your rational mind is quiet, and your consciousness can access fields of information that are always available, but usually blocked by mental noise. Think of those perfect synchronicities that have happened in your life. You thought of someone, and that person called. You needed an answer, and it appeared from an unexpected source. You were in the right place, at the right time without planning. These are not coincidences. These are moments when your consciousness is operating beyond the limitations of linear space-time. The ancient Egyptians, in texts like the Book of the Dead, meticulously described the soul's journey after physical death. They weren't creating fanciful mythology. They were mapping territories of consciousness that modern science is only beginning to explore. The soul, represented as Ka and Ba, navigated through dimensions and challenges, not as punishment or test, but as a natural continuation of the journey of consciousness expansion. Breathe deeply now, and imagine each inhalation bringing not just oxygen, but quantum information from the unified field. Feel how your body is not a prison, but a temporary vehicle for a consciousness that is as vast as the cosmos. Like the drop of water that can take on infinite forms without losing its watery essence, you are constantly recreating yourself, but always remaining fundamentally eternal. The death of the physical body, viewed from this perspective, is not an end. It is a graduation. It is the moment when consciousness, having completed its lessons in this specific dimensional frequency, is ready to explore new territories of existence. If you are feeling an opening, an expansion as you read this, it is because something within you is remembering. Let that remembrance flow. Don't force it. Just allow it. The quantum collapse of limited identity. Your current identity, with a name, history, preferences, and aversions, is like a wave that temporarily collapses into a particle. At the quantum level, you exist as infinite potential, but to experience this specific dimensional plane, you need to take on a defined form. The problem arises when you forget that you are the ocean pretending to be a wave, when you believe you are merely this temporary manifestation. Have you ever had that experience of looking at old photos of yourself and barely recognizing the person in the image? Or remembering past situations and questioning whether that really happened to you? These moments of estrangement are glimpses of your consciousness, realizing that the identity you carry is much more fluid than it seems. Reflect on your most vivid dreams, those that feel more real than waking life itself. In these states, you navigate realities without the usual physical limitations. You experience being other people, visit places you've never seen, understand concepts your waking mind cannot process. Where is death in these realms? It simply doesn't exist because you are operating at frequencies where consciousness doesn't need a physical vehicle to manifest. Quantum entanglement, scientifically proven, shows that two particles can remain connected instantly, no matter the distance. If this is true for particles, imagine the level of connection between consciousnesses that emerged from the same primordial source. You are not alone on your journey. You are intrinsically intertwined with every conscious being in the universe. That drop of water I mentioned is not just in the ocean, it is the ocean experiencing itself as a drop. Every experience you have, every emotion you feel, every thought that arises is adding information to the collective field of consciousness. Your individual journey is simultaneously a contribution to the evolution of all universal consciousness. Place your hands on different parts of your body now. Feel the energy pulsing, the warmth, the life. But don't stop at the physical sensation. Allow your perception to expand, to feel the energy field that extends beyond the skin, that connects with the surrounding environment, that has no defined boundaries. This is a glimpse of who you truly are. The regular practice of this expanded perception is not just a spiritual exercise. It is training for your consciousness to operate at higher frequencies, where immortality is not a belief, but a direct experience. Like this video, if you are ready to explore these deeper dimensions of your existence. The holographic matrix of personal reality. What you call reality is, in essence, a holographic projection created by the interaction between your consciousness and the universal quantum field. Each person lives in their own perceptual universe, shaped by their beliefs, frequencies, and patterns of consciousness. This is not abstract philosophy. It's what quantum physics demonstrates when it shows that the observer affects the behavior of subatomic particles. Have you ever noticed how two people can experience the same event and have completely different perceptions of what happened? It's not just psychological perspective. It's literally each consciousness collapsing different quantum probabilities into its personal reality. Think of moments in your life when a profound shift in perspective completely altered your experience of reality. Perhaps, after a significant loss, a transcendent experience, or a deep insight. In these moments, it wasn't the external world that changed, it was the frequency of your consciousness that tuned into a different station of reality. The linear time that governs your daily life is one of the most persistent constructs of this holographic matrix. But you have experienced moments where time behaved non-linearly. Premonitions that came true, dreams that predicted future events, or that strange feeling that something important is about to happen. In these moments, your consciousness is accessing the timeless nature of existence. Like the drop of water that can exist simultaneously as vapor in the clouds, as falling rain, as a flowing river, and as a resting ocean. Your consciousness is not confined to a single temporal moment. It exists in a continuum that your linear mind can only process sequentially. Spiritual masters of all traditions have always known this. When they speak of living in the present, they are not suggesting ignoring past and future, but accessing the point where all times converge, the eternal now where your consciousness truly resides. Close your eyes and feel your body not as solid matter, but as temporarily condensed energy. Every cell vibrating, every atom dancing, every subatomic particle flickering in and out of existence billions of times per second. You are not a thing. You are a process, an event, a symphony of energy and information temporarily playing at this dimensional frequency. The deep understanding of this dissolves the fear of death, because you realize there was never anything solid to die, only patterns of energy constantly reorganizing themselves. If you are feeling this truth resonate within your being, subscribe to continue this journey of conscious awakening. the portal of transcendent experience. There are specific moments when the veil between dimensions becomes thinner, when your consciousness can directly experience its limitless nature. These portals are not rare or special. They are happening constantly, but your attention is usually so focused on consensual reality that you miss them. Every time you're about to fall asleep or just waking up, there is a window where your consciousness floats between states. How many times have you had profound insights in these liminal moments? Have you ever wondered why many scientific discoveries and artistic creations emerge in dreams or daydreams? It's because in these states, your consciousness is not limited by the usual filters of the rational mind. It can access the field of all possibilities, where all information exists simultaneously. Remember any near-death experience you've heard about, or perhaps lived through? People consistently describe the sensation of leaving the body, observing the scene from above, passing through a tunnel of light, encountering beings of light or deceased loved ones, experiencing a panoramic life review, and above all, feeling an overwhelming unconditional love and a peace that transcends any description. These are not hallucinations of a dying brain. These are glimpses of what your consciousness experiences when it is no longer confined to the limits of the physical body. Science is beginning to map these phenomena, discovering that consciousness can operate independently of brain activity. Deep meditation offers another portal. When you truly quiet the chattering mind and merge with the underlying silence, something extraordinary happens. The boundaries of the self dissolve, and you directly experience your oceanic nature. Like that drop of water that realizes it was never separate from the ocean, just temporarily identified with a specific form. In this moment, breathe consciously and feel how the air entering you has already been in billions of other beings. The oxygen molecules that nourish your cells have already been part of ancient trees, dinosaurs, distant stars. You are literally breathing the universe, and the universe is breathing through you. There is no real separation, only the temporary illusion of boundaries. Nature offers constant portals to this expanded perception. Have you ever watched the sea until you lost track of where you ended and the horizon began? Or contemplated the stars until you felt simultaneously infinitely small and infinitely vast? These moments of ego dissolution are not escapes from reality. They are returns to your true nature. Your consciousness is eternal, always has been and always will be. The question is not whether you will survive death, but when you will begin to live from this understanding. Share one word in the comments that captures what you are feeling right now. This word will be your personal reminder of this truth, accepting the impermanence of form to embrace the permanence of essence. The first step to activating your experiential understanding of conscious immortality is paradoxical. You need to completely accept the impermanence of everything that is form. Your body, your relationships, your possessions, your identities. All of this is temporary, like waves in the ocean. But when you accept this deeply, without resistance, something magical happens. You touch that within you, which observes all these changes without being affected by them. Start by observing your breath right now. Notice how each inhalation is unique, unrepeatable, and each exhalation is a small death, a release. You cannot hold your breath indefinitely without suffering, just as you cannot hold on to any form without creating suffering. Life is this constant flow of creation and dissolution, and you are the consciousness that witnesses this flow. Practice this recognition daily. When you wake tomorrow, before identifying with your name, your story, your worries, pause for a few seconds and feel yourself as pure consciousness, awakening to another day of human experience. It's like an actor remembering they are playing a role, not lost in the character. Extracting the hidden gift in every transition. The second step is to recognize that every change, every loss, every end is actually a disguised portal of conscious expansion. The death of old patterns, relationships that end, phases of life that conclude. All of these are invitations for your consciousness to expand beyond the forms with which it was identified. Like the drop of water that needs to evaporate from the ocean to experience being a cloud, you need to release old forms to discover new dimensions of your being. When you feel resistance to a change, ask yourself, what lies beyond this dissolving form? What vaster aspect of my consciousness is wanting to emerge? For example, when a relationship ends, instead of just mourning the loss, explore what part of you was projected onto that person and can now be integrated. When a professional phase ends, investigate what new potential was dormant, waiting for this space to open. Every night before sleeping, practice a small conscious death. Release the day's identifications, the successes and failures, the joys and sorrows. Surrender to sleep as one surrenders to the cosmic ocean, trusting that the consciousness you are transcends all these temporary movements, redirecting focus from survival to transcendence. The third step is the most transformative, shifting your life's focus from mere survival to active transcendence. Most of humanity lives as if the goal is simply to prolong physical existence as much as possible, to accumulate as many experiences and possessions as possible before the inevitable end. But when you understand your eternal nature, the game changes completely. You stop living to survive and begin to live to evolve, expand, transcend. Start each day not with the question of what you need to do to keep your life functioning, but with the question of how you can expand your consciousness today. What self-imposed limitation can you transcend? What fear based on mortality can you release? What action aligned with your eternal nature can you take? Implement daily practices that anchor this perspective. It could be meditation, where you directly experience the fertile void from which all form emerges. It could be contemplation of nature, where you dissolve into vastness. It could be selfless service, where you act from the understanding that we are all one. It could be artistic creation, where you channel something greater through you. Place your hand on your heart now and feel not just your physical heart, but the quantum portal that connects you to all existence. Make a silent commitment to live each day as the eternal consciousness you are, temporarily experiencing the human form, not as an escape from life, but as a deeper engagement with it, knowing that every moment is precious, not because it will end, but because it is a unique expression of the eternal manifesting through you. The awakening to your immortal nature is not something that happens after death. It is something that can happen now, at this very moment, as you read these final words. Your consciousness was never born. Therefore, it cannot die. It merely transitions between different states of manifestation, like that drop of water that is always water, whether as vapor, rain, river, or ocean. You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience. The difference is not semantic. It is fundamental to how you live each moment. When you truly embody this truth, the fear of death dissolves like mist in the rising sun. Not because you've created a comforting belief, but because you have experientially touched your indestructible nature. Anxiety about the future loses its power because you understand that your ultimate future is already guaranteed. You are eternal. Anguish about the meaning of life transforms into wonder about the infinite forms that consciousness can assume. You don't just manifest what you desire, you manifest who you are. And who you are in your deepest essence is immortal consciousness, temporarily experiencing mortality to know itself from a unique perspective. Every challenge, every joy, every ordinary moment is the universe knowing itself through you. You are simultaneously the drop and the ocean, the wave and the sea, the note and the symphony. The death of the body will be just another transition, like so many you have already experienced. Like falling asleep and waking up, like exhaling and inhaling, like the drop that returns to the ocean to emerge again in a new form. If this message has resonated with the truth that already exists within you, leave a word in the comments, just one word that captures that resonance. Subscribe to this channel to continue exploring the deeper dimensions of your existence. Share this video with someone who needs to remember their eternal nature. Your consciousness is eternal. You always were, are, and always will be. Eternity is not a destination. It is your nature. Live from this understanding and watch how your entire reality transforms. Death is not the opposite of life. It is merely one of the many masks that eternal life wears in its infinite dance. And you, immortal consciousness, reading this now, are both the dancer and the dance. Always have been. Always will be. Welcome to the awakening to your true nature. The journey doesn't end here. It merely begins from a completely new perspective. A perspective where you are not walking towards eternity, but walking as eternity, temporarily manifested in this precious and unique form you call yourself.